I ngā mana, i ngā reo, i ngā karanga maho te motu, tēnā koutou, o tira tēnā tātou katoa. Me huri ngā whakaro ki a rātou mai, hinga mai, hinga atu, me ki i tēnei wiki, tēnei marama, o tira i tēnei tau. Kia koutou mā, oki e koutou, e moi. Hoki mai ki a tātou te hungora, tātou e tau nei, ki runga i tēnei tu āhuatanga o te kōrero, nau mai, piki mai, hara mai. Kia ora and welcome to Thankful Thursday. This one is a awesome one because it's just whānau coming together and having a kōrero. But a huge mihi to everyone that continues to support Thankful Thursdays. Thankful Thursday started back last year during the lockdown period to help support and connect people in our communities around the globe. And the pandemic was hitting at that time, not only here in Aotearoa, but throughout the whole ao. And so this was an opportunity for us to come together and also to embrace some of the things that we should be thankful for, things that we should be thankful for in regards to life, in regards to whānau, and in regards to being part of Aotearoa. So whānau, no mai, hara mai, welcome to our session tonight. It's a great privilege and honour to have these awesome whānau on the show tonight. They call us the Type 5, and the crew will actually talk about it on how we got the name and how we've come together for so long. But let me stop talking and let's bring on two of them at the moment. The other two are on their way, but tēnā koe te wāta.
Ora, tēnā koe, wada, tēnā koe. Mihi atuna, kia koe, o tira ki tēnei whakāturanga. Mō tēnei pōhiri kia hau, o tira kia mātou e ki ana ko te Type 5. Mihi atuna kia koe, bro, tautoko nei ngā mihi. Ko mihia e koe, no reira tēnā koe, wada. Kia ora.
Tēnā koe. Ai, nau mai, hara mai. Thank you for coming. O tira, ka huri kia koe teina tēnā koe te tuahine. Oh, hang on, do I have to unmute you? Oh no, you need to unmute yourself.
Kia ora.
Ka pai.
Hello, flag. Nei, iwi.
No, ngā mihi. Before we get started with our kōrero tonight, he mihi tēnā kia koe teina me tō whānau, me te taumahatanga o te mate e Wainganui o takoutou nei whānau. Our condolences to you and your whānau during the loss of Koro Bob, and the mahi that he was influential in our community for. And which is also an awesome kaupapa for us to come on tonight, not about death or about Koro passing away, but when we've all got together, I think it was back in 96, your kuia was the one that helped us to do te manu, what's it called? The wharenui. Yeah, te manu korihi I te atapō, eh? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I was thinking about that today when I was getting everything ready, and I was going, what a fitting time that we can come together, acknowledge koro, but also acknowledge your kuia for supporting us through that process and teaching us, taking us to get kia. You know, all of those sort of things that we all started to do and love. I so remember that sort of thing. But before we get into our kaupapa kōrero about us, I've been asked all these questions around COVID lately, and one of the partai that I've got for you, Teina, only if you're wanting to answer this, but you know, it was different doing tangihana during COVID times.
Yes.
How was it for you and your whānau?
Once we got into the flow of what we had to do, it was okay, but before we even while we were at home and had koro at home, it was fine because we were pretty much one big whānau bubble and had been spending time with him leading up to his passing. When we were notified about and read through all the restrictions and expectations that would be upon our whānau once we got to the marae, beforehand was when there was the most anxiety, just how are we going to do this? This is going to be so different. Can we do it? But once we got there, aroha mai, he wakarere. But
That's
once
fine.
we
That's
got
fine.
there,
That's
I
what you
came
get when we live,
outside.
you know, all of it.
I came outside to from my noisy kids, and then I end up underneath a bloody airplane. Once we got to the marae, I did feel like we were able to uphold all the tikanga we normally would at a tangihanga and keep everyone safe at the same time. It just took a little bit more planning. It took a lot, like you had to be quite intentional about what people's jobs were going to be. Like you were going to sit at the gate and make sure people scan in and know they have to wear a mask, that kind of stuff. You couldn't just let those things happen naturally. It had to be planned out. The biggest thing we were really worried about was controlling the numbers, but I just think COVID times in general have kind of deterred people from attending tangihanga, and messages are getting put out there to say, unless you really need to be at it. We weren't putting them out as a whānau, but there were messages around, especially with COVID and Rotorua, saying, unless you really need to be at the tangihanga, don't go. And so what would have probably been quite a big tangi without COVID was quite small in comparison, really. And so the numbers thing didn't end up having to be something we had to worry about in terms of, ope over 100 people and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was different, but it is doable. Like, I don't think we need to stop following the tikanga and we've always had for tangihanga because of COVID. I think it can still be done and still keep everyone safe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
te kato. Yeah.
Totally.
Was there anything in particular that stood out in regards to COVID and tangihanga that will help support other whānau? Because at the moment there's, a whole heap of different whānau doing different things. Some of our whānau are not even going back to the marae because, they don't want to put our kaumātua at risk, or the thing around some marae, you can't go there if you're not vaccinated, and especially with the new traffic light system that's starting tomorrow, there's some implications around kawa or tikanga, either way that you look around it, about our marae and stuff. Te Wata, what about your idea? How do you think that's going to impact us as Maori around the changes of the traffic light system, but our marae, some of our marae already saying that if you're not double vax, don't bother coming to the marae.
Yeah. I think for me, I can only speak on the part of how our marae reacted when the COVID first came here. And so we called a hui amongst Ngāti Hinerangi, which is Uncle Piki Thomas, and having someone like Uncle Piki, leading the charge, you seem quite safe. So Ngāti Hinerangi, at the onset of the first 2020, we decided to keep our koeke at home during tangihanga, and the rangatahi we had to step up and play the roles of whai kōrero, kai kōrero, and also kai karanga. And then we also looked at how we could have a proper fluency through the marae. So when you have an ope coming on and then you have an ope going off, so that there were no cross. You know how Māori, we get to the marae, we're in a mix and mingle, and so you try and eliminate all that sort of stuff. So what we did was we looked at how you enter into a wharekai, especially at Tāheki. We have two doors, so you have the front door that goes in from the marae out there, and then there's another back door that goes out to the car park. So I was trying to utilise that fluency, that flow within the marae, so that there was no crossing over. And I think what we decided was, putting up sanitizers all around the place, masks and whatever, just so that it was there and it was in your face. But we were looking at separating the marae into two complexes. So you had the wharenui and the wharekai, so that you knew the numbers that were on both sides. So it didn't overcrowd, and you knew exactly. So you won't get a crowd of 50 every ope, every manuhiri, so you can manage that quite easily, but it's how to have that flow, so that you can still respect the mana of your tangata whenua. You don't want to kick them out. We had the likes of Auntie Carol Haimana and Gillian in them, discussing how they could prepare kai. What would that look like in terms of taking away kai? So we were all over it when we first when COVID first come here, and with the traffic light system, it's sort of it's a bit hard when you have a minister of health actually almost dictating how things are going to be on the marae. A scenario is that when you're talking mana and Maori, you could have a korero in full flight with whai korero. And then all of a sudden, the police turn up and take over the marae because someone's on the marae that shouldn't be on the marae. So therefore, the exchange of mana. So I'll leave it there because it can go on and on. But Maori think from the peripheral view. They don't just think of because we went back to 1918. We went back to the influenza. We looked at all the old tikanga that changed. I think our cousin Piwiki brought up a document that allowed us to have a look at what our tupuna changed in terms of the tikanga, like 5 days to 3. We've got things like we can have tūpapaku outside on the maho to be outdoors. So tikanga and kawa are always open for change, but it has to be a change that will allow other tikanga to flourish. The main tikanga and the main kawa on the marae. But with the traffic light system, I don't think the government are really sure of how this is going to go. But yeah. That's my
korero, yeah.
Green, stop when it's red. Fade out when it's red.
Yeah. So true.
I don't know what's
Teina, was that the case in your at the marae for koro? The kai was takeaway kai instead of sitting down in the whare kai, te rauaroha, or?
We actually did sit down kai in te rauaroha for this tangi, but the couple of tangi previous to Koro's one, they had done takeaway kai. So it really is up to the whānau there at that particular marae. It's up to the whānau to decide how they want to do it and if they can do it safely. And so offering our manuhiri proper kai was important to a decision made by the whole whānau. That was what our aunties wanted. And so we just had to make sure we were going to do that, be able to provide it safely, which meant serving kai to tables. People came in, sat down, the kai came to them, and then they just left from their tepu to leave. There was no serving their own kai or getting their own cup of tea or anything like that. And all our servers were masked up. Everyone had to scan in at the whare kai door and that kind of thing. So, it felt safe. The hardest thing about the whole process, whether you're in the whare kai or the wharenui, I think the hardest part was not being able to mihi in the same way we normally would, especially during the time. So, no hariru, no kihi, no awhi. That's probably the hardest part, because when you're in times of sadness, that's what you look for and that's what people want to give. That probably, there were times I stayed right out of view of the people who had come in because I knew it was going to be too hard to be face to face with those people and not, offer that, for them to offer that aroha in that way. So
you're so right. Yeah, so right. That's why I didn't come to any of the tangi, because I wouldn't have been able to help myself. But the other thing too is that when you're a vulnerable person that's going through a rongoa journey or a journey like what I'm going through at the moment, the last thing that I would ever would want to put onto your whānau or any of our whānau is someone in my vulnerable state to come and give you a hug and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
Although I really would have wanted to, and, you know, jumped at the opportunity and did the sneaky hugs around the back, whatever. But, you know, it was about identifying that myself, but I could still support or still tautoko from home or from hospital or from wherever, you know. So if there was opportunities for whānau to do that. Do you think this is going to be something that we will have to now adapt to, as if, for example, Maori, vulnerable Maori, even our queer and karawa, that normally would sit at the pai every day, all day? Do you think this is going to be the new normal for Maori? Either one of you can answer.
Yeah, well,
I'm not sure.
technology is pretty good, eh? We're lucky for technology, to be able to, you know, allow your space on the marae for those immediate family, you know, those family that need to be there, and have the opportunity of watching it online, you know. But if you're sick, you're sick. Stay home. You know, it's common sense will tell you. You know, it doesn't matter what mawiri you have, just stay home. And I think when we're you know, undermining people's common sense to stay home, that's a bit harsh. But technology is, I used to be hard against, totally against technology. You know, you be present at a tangihanga, but in this time, I have retracted my whakaaro, and I think that it's an awesome tool to have, you know, for these times, during these crises. But
yeah, I think so too. The technology is definitely helpful. We had whānau, my own sister's one, who couldn't come back from Australia and haven't been able to all year pretty much, even though they knew this time was going to come. They couldn't come, you know, early either. And being able to call them in to certain times, not all day, every day or anything, but, you know, certain times of the process, it was what they needed. And it just meant they got together, our tinana there, the ones who were close, and then they were able to share in parts of what we were doing here. And we couldn't have done that without the technology we have on offer these days. And if it wasn't for COVID, they all would have been here in a flash.
Well, that's the thing now. Our government has changed it from eliminating it to minimizing it. So, you know, we've got to just live to times now, and adapt to the different things. And it's around being safe more than anything else. Engari, me hoki mātou ki te kaupapa kōrero, ngā hunga mate ki a rātou, e moi hoki mai ki te hunga ora. Let's get rid of this depressing COVID conversation. And let's get back to the kaupapa kōrero.
Your ratings.
Oh, yeah. I'm already getting the hurry up and get to the real stuff on Te Taipa. Anyway.
He wants to be on here. He wants an invite.
Yeah, you probably don't. Yeah. Anyway, ka pai. All right, let's get into the kaupapa kōrero. Teina, you can answer this question. How did we all meet?
I think it goes back to pre-high school. In our primary school days, we used to have what were called rural school sports days. All the kura that were on the outskirts of town, even though Whakarewere was not that rural, I think they connected more with the rural tamariki and the rural schools than the towny schools. So Whangamari
they thought that we were hoary. That's why. That's why they put us with rural.
Whangamarino had rugby boots, and Whakarewere were turned up for rugby game, and because Whakarewere had no rugby boots, Whangamarino had to take ours off.
Bare feet, yeah, we had bare feet.
Look at these warriors, got all the pennies from out of the river, can't get a rugby boot.
And then have to play rugby on our field that only had one set of goalposts.
Oh, that's so true. Now I get it. Yes, of course. But there was heaps of prickles too.
That was where we first crossed paths, but then we would have we became mates, good mates, from third form at Lakeside.
That's right. I think we're all in the bilingual unit, and I think
Right.
Whare Hooker was, if I can remember, Whare Hooker, she was taking the the interviews. She was doing the interviews. E mihi atuna ki a Whare Hooker, he tino kuia tērā no mātou, no te kura. And yeah, I remember, because kāri tino kaha taku reo, I te tino kaha taku reo Māori I tērā wā. Engari, I tuku haere taku reo Māori. And she was asking, I te pātai mai, she was asking me questions, and all I kept answering was, aye. And she's looking at me, she saying something like, the question that I've asked you doesn't require a yes or no answer. I actually want to hear something. I'm like, far up. So from that point on, I ahau ki te reo Māori, but I think Whare Hooker, was part of our getting together.
And I remember there were quite a few of us from Whangamarino in that class, but I think you were the only one from Waka, Iwi, and so you just naturally kind of linked on to us who were keeping to our tight little bubble of mates, because we were now in a big kura and sticking together, and I think we just kind of scooped you in to our little bubble, and yeah.
Yes, I was very thankful for that. Well, this is, and at the time, it was all the Māori kids were all together, sort of thing. So it was, if you were, but what had happened was that they assumed, because I came from Te Kura o Te Whakarewarewa, they thought that I knew Te Reo Māori, but I wasn't even in the bilingual class or the Rumaki class, so I had no idea. I was way worse than you, Te Wata. But but nowadays, this is a question I want to ask: is what you set out to for yourself in high school, is that what you become today as an adult?
Kia ora, ahau? No, I think I've grown in many areas, but teaching, like, informally, was always there. Like, we were teaching haka at ground level, and teaching heavy wānanga, mau taiaha, mau rākau. But teaching was there, but I never limited myself. I've done quite a few things, and few jobs and few hats that I have. But you don't really know who you are, as a young fella. It's not until you start growing up, and then you learn things, you change, you develop, you align yourself with other things. And I never knew 10 years ago that I'll be a director, and I never knew that I'll be directing a show for Wakahuia. And that was one of my favorite shows. I loved the show when I was a kid, the documentaries, and never ever thought, the Blue Moon, that I'd be heading a kaitohu, heading a awhina i tērā kaupapa. So you don't really know who you are until you get out there and start living life and finding things, doing things, changing. But teaching is always there. Te reo Māori was always the path, but it led to many things.
Yeah, definitely. Well, for you, Teina, teaching has been in your background for a while, from your parents and your grandparents and stuff. So
teaching definitely in the blood.
Yeah, like it's
and
like holy. That's nanny. Kui, you're unmute yourself.
Told you I was gonna make it.
Kia ora, Hiria. Taina's just doing her teaching. What was the question? I can't remember what the question was.
Teaching was in my background.
Yes, teaching, that's right.
I was actually they tried to talk, everyone in my whānau who was a teacher tried to talk me out of being a teacher. But it's happened anyway, and I think it's quite cool that all of us are teachers, have ended up being teachers. Yeah. And I never thought Eve would end up being a teacher, but she's a bloody good teacher.
She wants to take her classes now and again too, her wānanga, her special kaupapa, e te wānanga o Aotearoa.
Yeah. So we've all ended up going down that track, even Hoani.
Yeah.
So yeah.
One of the things that I always get asked, this question, how did I get into the places that I got into? And basically all I said, te reo Maori was one of the driving forces for me to either get into university, to do a university degree, or to get some sort of tohu, because I didn't get any bursary subjects or anything like that. It was because we did te pihinga at high school that I was able to get into university, and I always accredit te reo Māori to be the reason why I've got so far in life, because I had a few teachers at high school that I won't name and shame, but they said your language is not going to get you anywhere, and I was going,
Your
for
English?
Or
your Māori?
Both. Because that's why I didn't pass English. No, but that was the whole thing around it. And then when I went to go do journalism, one of the biggest things that I found, and you might have found this too, Tuata, is that to make a change in that circle, you have to become in that eliteness. So, for example, if you're going to be in a newspaper writing a news article, the person that you have to be is the editor. Why? Because they're the ones that make all the changes to change your story around to make it sound like a negative slant for Maori. And so even though you're the journalist with your name against that story, at the end of the day, you didn't write that story, it was the editor. And so some of those sort of things I cringe at all the time. But Hiria, welcome. Sorry. Welcome.
Is that your manu? Who's that manu?
Oh yeah, there's a few tui out there.
Oh, nice. But anyway, we're just talking about how we all met. But what you set out to do in high school, is that your pathway that you've taken as an adult?
Oh, not at all. I didn't want to be a teacher. That was the last thing I wanted to be, simply because I was the number one babysitter throughout my teenage years. I was the babysitter for everybody, really. So, and teaching kids or being a teacher was the last thing I wanted to do, is because I just wanted to explore. I actually wanted to be a midwife.
Yes.
And then I went to my first and it put me off.
You can still be a midwife. You can still be a midwife.
Yeah. Why did you want to become a midwife, Heeds?
Because I actually thought I had a connection with babies. I don't know. I just think that I was a baby magnet, you know. Well, I didn't think that. People told me that, and then I thought, oh, maybe, yeah, and maybe that could be a path for me. And I do love babies. I mean, you can tell because I take every newborn baby around. So yeah, that's why. And then just another reason why I wanted to be a midwife was there wasn't many Māori. There wasn't a whole heap of Māori midwives around, and I just wanted to be the midwife.
Yeah. No, that's basically the whole thing around it too, eh? Is that you thought that you were going to be that, but then, the other thing too, I thought I was going to be an actor, but I can't really remember lines.
You would have won an Oscar. Hands down, bro, you would have won an Oscar.
So that's why I became a journalist. That was the next best thing, was becoming a journalist so that I could still be on TV, but read it from key cards.
Just you're nearly there.
Last, and we feel special being on your show here. So.
Oh, thank you. The honour is all mine, honestly. It's the least I can do to make up for Sunday, but we won't go there. But even to the fact, like this time last year, I was doing a musical with Leah Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, yes.
even up to that point,
Yeah.
I still didn't remember my lines properly, and I only had like 4 lines to remember. And did you think I could ever remember those? No. But give me a song to sing, I can remember a song. But when it came to remembering lyrics and not lyrics, the script, I was like going, oh. But apparently it worked. So I'm sure I made it up. Every night was a different word. So,
Yeah.
well, it was more than ad-lib.
The director's looking at the script, and he was way off the mark.
Well, I think Nev was looking at it, he didn't say that last night.
I reckon whatever you do, bro, it's got to be with passion there. Because if you don't have the passion that drives you, it just becomes a drag, your mahi. But like I said, I never knew that I was into television and where I am today. But yeah, you go through life and you find out who you really are. So when you ask yourself at 10 years old, you don't know who you are. You think you do. You have a dream, but life, always realigns you in some ways. But always have a passion. I think that's number one. Passion. Be passionate about what you do. Like Hiria, passionate about babies. That could be a strong foundation in that field. Eh?
Yeah, definitely. Talking about babies, congratulations on the mokopuna Hiria at Rehua.
Thank you. We're so over the moon with her. She's bloody beautiful.
Oh, every time I see the photos, I'm like going, oh, cute.
What's baby's name, he?
Paretaha te rau o te huia.
Paretaha. That's your kuia's name, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, my kuia, and huia is Layla's kuia. So rather than putting huia as a second name, we just tied it in as one.
Nice.
Baby doing good. Pai.
Yeah, no, she's good. The parents are doing a good job, being so young, and during these hard times, they've kind of had to learn everything by themselves, do everything for themselves. So yeah, and they're doing really well.
That's good to hear. That's so good. Hey, Hiria, while you're still there, how did we get the name Type 5?
I want to say it was Auntie Chrissy Papuni.
Yeah, because that was a 7-year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maya.
And we were the last 5 standing from our original class of, I don't know, probably 20-ish. And we were the only 5 school in 7th form.
Yeah, because I remember we started with an 8-pack. Because we used to be called the Ford pack. And then, because there was Te Moanaroa, Tare, they were all a part of that, hey? Yeah, so, yeah, I think we started off with an 8 Ford pack, and then ended up as a Type 5 because we were the only 5 left.
It's cool that you mentioned Te Moanaroa in them here, because, there's, even though we say Type 5, that's just, but there are all our other mates that we're also close to, so it's mean that you acknowledge them and talk about them. But yeah,
because those old photos I found of that trip to Ohope, there was quite a few of us.
Yeah, remember Hobom?
There was quite a few of us who went on that haeringa, and that was, I think, maybe 4th form.
Yeah. And I think the only reason why they weren't so close to us was because they didn't do kapahaka.
Yeah.
So they were still a part of our group, but they didn't come to kapahaka with us. So, and then we just even grew stronger during those times.
Yeah.
And then we had hang around fellas like Taipa. Feel the power.
Although we had, I'm sure, who was it? Oh no, So before we even started high school, I think Hoani was already in kapahaka for Lakes High,
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
and
I think.
Taimona.
Rehua, I
then
think it was
over-
Rehua, not Hoani, eh?
Oh, was it? Yeah, one of them, eh? I
And
know
then
that
when
there was.
our year, 1996, was Mona,
Yeah, they were
Mona and
There's a few of them.
Irihe? Was it Irihe?
Baba.
And Baba?
Cooks,
Yeah.
Chakio.
Yeah, well,
true.
they were in our 2000 year, eh? Year 2000, that's
Yeah.
when Cucks, Chucks, Brennan,
Yeah.
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 No, we're disclosing all the rules we broke about.
Yeah,
But
but what can they do now?
can you see that there's a pattern happening there? It was all the boys that we were bringing in, no like girls.
Because there was never enough boys to fill up a
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
And it's still the same.
Although we managed to do 2 teams one year, eh?
Yeah, that was our
1996.
Oh wow!
The novices. We called the novices.
Oh, novices.
I tried,
Is that what it's called?
Senior team.
Oh, you were the
Was the leader of the novice team. So.
you were the kaitataki, eh?
And he
Oh,
was
that's
the
right.
senior team. He
Could've
was in the
put me
senior
in
team and she didn't even want to do
Want to be on the kapahaka?
I was pretty
You
much
forced me, eh?
begging her, please come. We need more. And then she got in the senior team and the rest of us were in the bloody novices.
Oh.
I think sorry for me when I made it into the other team because honestly, I sucked. I was like thinking to myself, like how I couldn't remember the haka, like the words. I was like going, oh, for goodness sake. I don't know.
Playing it now, you didn't say nothing. I mean, I could have just easily stepped up to your spot there and you could have had mine. But
Well, I was trying to get out of it. I was trying to get out of it. That was the first thing I was trying to do. But they needed you and the other one to lead that pack. Because I wouldn't have led nothing. I would have been still in the second row, you know.
We had some
lines.
was the leader. And
yeah, who was the leader with you?
Taurangi, Cassidy.
I don't think she's done kapahaka ever since then.
Probably not, eh?
You know, like whangamarino, we didn't know what competition was. You know, walk on, sing your pene mātou, and then walk off.
We were still doing plays.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were too. We were doing Cinderella and something else.
How haka became hula, eh?
Yeah,
It was us.
In the tree. Right.
True. So
Those
true.
were the days, the high school kapaka days before there was even regionals and nationals.
Yeah, we just had a
It was like a Waikato Waiariki contour.
It was, eh?
Although I loved all our trips away though, for Manu Korero, for kapahaka, you know. What was that? What did we go down to Murihiku for? Manu Korero. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
The motel.
That's when we met Koro Jews, eh?
Oh,
that one
was
in
Ruatoria, right?
That was for you, Tararoa, eh? That was for you. Tararoa.
Can someone just message Hoani to click on the link, please?
We were actually quite privileged, eh?
You know,
really lucky, eh?
Yeah.
All that we were around, you know, all the knowledge that we were given by people like Uncle Putu, your name, you know, like the elements. Hey, and we're just little kids, just you know, soaking it all in, not realizing we have to be by a hookah, Korero. Remember Waldo, Hiria, hey, you wake up.
Ringing them up on the phone to do our Korero assessment.
Yeah. Auntie B,
True.
you know, they had characters.
Oh, okay. Auntie B, let's talk about this because I need to get her kupu hau. Her kupu hau. She had heaps of kupu hau. Okay, name one.
I can't remember.
Name one.
Do you know what you're
I've
talking
got
about?
one.
Yep.
I've got one. Ori Toriama.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, that's Auntie B.
that was
Hey.
her.
That was Auntie B. Still had the
Yeah.
Maori flow, you know, had her own kupu, but it was still stuck in the Maori flow. She was cool, Auntie B. She was a wicked singer. She was beautiful. Her manaakitanga was right up there, but I can't remember any of her reo. Her one-liners.
Oh yeah, no, she had heaps, eh? She had heaps.
It wasn't
What
even her
about
kupu hau for me. It was the Maori names that she was trying to give all the kids that had Pākehā names. Hey? Like for
Even
Zoe,
say,
Zoe, for example, she knew that Zoe's name was Wahanga, but she still called her Toi. Hey, I'm just like,
I know calling someone's Maori name that was their queer's name, it was their middle name, and then because someone else come who had the same Pākehā name, she gave them that one's queer's Maori
she was unique. Man. She was
name. You
unique.
know, a cool story I remember about Auntie B, and I think of it often, you know, starting to get old, watching her moisturise. Do you remember watching her moisturise her tinana, like from head to toe on nohos or hiding us, and every night she'd have a shower and she'll sit there on the bed in her bra and her undies with the whare full of it, and she would moisturise like from her fingertips all the way up. She had like this routine, and it was no wonder she always looked so
beautiful. Yeah.
Immaculate, eh?
And I remember saying, what brand moisturiser do you use, Auntie? She said, I use whatever people give me for Christmas. I get all these packs. I don't care what it is, but I just use them all up. So she didn't even like loyal to a expensive brand. She just used whatever she had, and she moisturised from head to toe every night. I can remember watching her.
Yeah, me
And then
too.
the car with the number plate, tuna.
Yeah.
Wahanga's got that now.
Oh, true. The number plate. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, she was an icon, man. She was an icon. Auntie B. She'll always have a place in our hearts, man.
Yeah,
No doubt.
true. So true.
Yeah. Even when she used to have a soup kitchen, and like her classroom was almost like a mirage, like
Yeah.
had
A museum, eh?
and all these other people called Mateke Noati ngā wharangata ne, and kei te iri ngā whakāhua, and then over here we've got a picture of the mata, her Morpite workings, you know, tata, kato, but, you know,
Oh, do you know what she did? She didn't steal. She took off the wall my baby photo from my 21st. She took the baby photo and she stuck it in her classroom. I was like, okay.
What's happening with Hoani?
There we go.
Oh,
He's got two.
Oh,
he's
there
got
we
two
go.
of them going. But anyway, kia ora Hoani, no mate, hara mate, kia ora. We're just up to the parts of the names of some of our kayako, but the stuff that we got up to in high school. But while you're on, you might as well go take us through, you know, how we went from our English names to our Maori names.
Oh, yeah. Shit, I think we were playing against Waka. Oh, it was back in the 90s, and we used to have school athletics. Rotoma, Horohoro, Waka, Whangamarino, and Rotoiti. And what you fellas, Iwi, Waka, and Horohoro were linked up. Roto Mai,
Yes.
Roto Iti were linked up, and then it was just us by ourselves out at Whangamarino. And the first time I had met Iwi was playing rugby against Waka and Horohoro, and his name wasn't Iwi then, it was Alan. And
Alan.
all of a sudden we got the legs high, and then the bro changed his name from Alan to Iwi. Ha!
I can
Yeah.
relate to that too. My name was David Patrick. How my name was written was David Patrick Waata Crib. My mum just slapped on Crib by default. It wasn't even proper, adoption. And so everybody just assumed that Waata was my Maori name, but it was actually my surname, hyphenated. So my name was actually, David Patrick Waata. But yeah, so got to school, and was giving everyone Maori names. And so I thought Waata was a cool name. And then I just put te on the front of it to make it sound even cooler. No tough. But yeah, koina te whiunga, David.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It was Mr. Penny or somebody changed down because we all had to have Māori names, he said. But there was Matua Paparoa. What, Paparoa? Yeah.
Waata might
he-
like to share a memory of.
Your favourite teacher, eh?
Hey, you might want to share your memory with Paparoa there, David Patrick.
Oh, he's a great man, lovely man, great heart. I think he did social studies. Was his kaupapa. I didn't really dig his kaupapa, but he was pretty cool. Actually, when I look back now, he was pretty cool. I think no Ngāti Kahungunu te korua nei, te tangata.
But he's still around.
I taku mōhio. Ko rawa ko
And
whaia
his
mō.
wife name, Moana.
He's so naughty, Heath.
Yeah. See, this is Hiria now. This is her.
She had all the nicknames for the Kaiokos.
No, her name was Moana, wasn't it?
Yeah, her name was Moana.
Moana.
Oh.
Wasn't their surname? His surname was Whenuarua.
Yeah.
Roger Whenuarua.
But we used to call him
How do we
Paparoa.
get Paparoa?
Nā,
He
that
was
was
called that.
tana ingoa kārangaranga i te
Oh, okay.
Remember? Hikitia
But it was also, because he was also like a minister type, like he was. Oh, I thought he was like a minister or something. I'm not quite sure. I could be making it up. I probably am. It doesn't.
Did he inspire you? I mean,
I think when he left was when Nev came. Nev took over his economic things.
Because he used to do social studies and Māori studies, eh? Because remember we used to have a Māori studies.
Yeah. And I think he was an economics teacher too for seniors, Paparo.
Oh yeah, I think he was.
So, yeah.
I know one class I went to his classroom. He did he told us to write our names on cue cards on our first day, and then I put it out there, and he goes, "Is your name Emmy?"
Emmy.
Yeah, okay. And then I had a look at it, and I was going, "What are you talking about?" No, I thought it was upside down when he said that, but no.
Your handwriting, eh? Your handwriting, Iwi.
Yeah, most probably. That's why my shorthand is really good, but if you see my printing, it's ugly as.
Oh.
But yeah.
Wow, I just remember when Waata got kicked out of his class.
What happened?
That's why I can't stop laughing. No, I can't. Sorry, we cannot share what happened on this forum.
I think I did one detention in my entire years.
I don't. You didn't get a detention. You just got told to get out because you in his class. They were those cubicles. They were cubicles, and we had to sit behind each other. Do you remember, Tate?
Yeah,
Why he got kicked out?
I can't remember why he got kicked out.
I was cheeky though. I think I was quite
Yeah,
cheeky.
and you were being cheeky.
Yeah, no, I think I was quite cheeky when I was at Kura, but I think I just tried to compensate for my
Oh, hey, we all had our cheeky moments.
You're right up there.
Do you remember
Mrs. Cato?
She was Nairo's wife.
Whaituru.
Right,
Whaituru.
You had nicknames for everybody.
Do we remember Muri Munch?
Yes. Yes.
Why Muri Munch? Oh, nah, you're a kino.
That name was because of the whare.
From the Muri, eh?
It was you. He don't know how you got away. Kids these days get suspended for that.
No, remember that one time I got put on red card for that a report card, and I got a whack with the hockey stick from Daryl Penny. Hard out. For giving Fire Cato, Mrs. Cato, a Maori name. Do you remember her Maori name I gave her?
Are you going to say it out loud?
No.
Put it in the chat. Put it PM.
Oh my God. Talking about teachers, we'll go around, starting with you, Waata. One of your favourite teachers at high school?
For me, would it be Whaiahuka. Whaiahuka was my favourite teacher. Tōna wairua ngāwari. He wahine he kia humari. She didn't even, like, her voice was just like this, but then just a look. You could tell something was wrong, but the nature of Whaiahuka. But they were all good, matua rangiti, and they were all awesome teachers. So for me, I think Whaiahuka. It'll be a toss-up between her and Auntie P. Anyway, that's it.
Ngamahi. Teina?
But I think, and it might just because it was the more recent, our final years there, but I think Auntie Chrissy was quite a big influence on like our final year or two at Lakeside and moving on from there. I feel like she was a real big influence on where I ended up going to study and those kind of things. She was real cool. She brought a kind of different vibe to our whānau at Lakeside. Yeah, I really loved Auntie Chrissy. She's probably my favourite. Yeah. Apart from Auntie B's, Auntie Chrissy was pretty up there.
Okay. Hiria?
We had I had a few. We had some awesome kaiako, eh? We were actually well looked after. So I've got a few favourite kaiako, but probably Matua Rangitihi is a standout one for me. He kind of kept me aligned. He probably didn't like me as much as I liked him, or I probably didn't show that I liked him. But he saw us through from third form to about fifth form before when he left, and then when he left, Neville came, Maya came, and Auntie Chrissy. So and Nanny Hooker and them were there through our
early stages,
our 2020 days, our junior years. But yeah, I think for me it would be Rangitihi, my favourite. Oh, he was just real, eh? He didn't take no shit from us. If we needed a, he kept us in line. Well, he kept me in line. I think I got 2 smacks with the hockey sticks from him. The second whack I got with the hockey stick was we were actually having a game of hockey, and me and him were hustling for the ball, and then he just whacked me, and I whacked him back, of course.
Nah, he was cool, man. Like
Yeah.
Sit and have a conversation with Matua, with Matua Rangitihi, and ka whakarongo ki tana reo Maori, and it was actually you know, pretty spot on, and you know, if we'd have taken much more pay more attention to that, you know, we would have lived up. He used to write my money Korero speeches, so this is how I learned Maori.
True.
He was writing my speech up in there, and I got him and memorise it. So I owe a lot to Matua Rangitihi, with the tahaki reo Maori. So I agree, he was right up there.
Yeah. What a Hoani's trying to come back in, but we'll wait till he comes back in. But for me, for me would be for me it was all of our Maori teachers. They were all awesome. You know, they were always there for us. But one of the mainstream teachers was Mrs. Arnerich, who really took her time in 7th form to guide us into, or guide me anyway, into a pathway that proved this particular other teacher wrong around our language not getting me places. And so she was one of those ones that was really strong influence in my life to prove other mainstream teachers that didn't like us very much, and they showed that they didn't like us, but Mrs. Arnerich was always there. She, you know, giving that guidance and a career pathway that I achieved to be to this day. You know, so I acknowledge Mrs. Arnerich and the stuff that she taught us back in 7th form, and that's how I was thankful enough to be able to get into university and stuff. So yeah, I pay homage to her and the stuff that she did for us at that point of time in life, basically.
Yeah, that was an important time.
Yeah, it was. And you know, and we had some really cool trips and stuff coming in and out as it came, and you know, like time was just really she taught things in perspective of, you know, to live your dream, to go for your dream, and become the best person that you could ever be in life. And but that was all of our Maori teachers too. They all saw something that they saw that potential in all of us, and that's what that's why I'm so thankful that we're on here tonight talking about these people, because they paved the way so that we could help pave the way for our kids, your kids, basically. I ain't got no kids, but you know, your fellas kids, the mokopuna of Apopo. You know, these are all the things that we've learned that now that they taught us, that we can share with our kids in class, or with our tauira that are at Te Wānana or Aotearoa, or on your Wānana courses. But so you know, there's a whole heap of things that that these teachers in our lives had done for us by just being present and giving us the opportunity and just listening to us. I think that was the biggest part, was that, you know, we had some amazing teachers that really listened to us, and hopefully we are the same teachers as what they were in our lives. And I no doubt about it that every single one of us teach because the passion that we have for teaching comes from the people that taught us, like Whai Huka, like Auntie B, you know, like Rangiti Daryl. But you know, it's like these key people in our lives that continue to shape and mold us. I runga I tēnā. That's a whole hour up, whānau. That went really quick.
Your ratings are going to go through the roof.
Oh, well, yeah, well, they're still up the roof at the moment, so I'm just looking at it. But ngā mihi nui kia koutou. Sorry about that, Hoani, that keeps on cutting out, but it was nice to catch up with you briefly. Yeah, briefly catching up with you was so cool. Yeah, but koutou mā, ngā mihi nui kia koutou, me o koutou nei whānau, kia noho haumaru koutou ki wanga nui I tēnei tu āhuatanga. Even though we're going through this crazy COVID stuff, stay safe and stay well. I runga I tēnā, koutou mai mātakitaki mai tēnei o tō tata nei whakapāho, or Thankful Thursday, ngā mihi kia koutou tau. I runga I tēnā, pō Māori, ka kite koutou.
Pō Māori.
Don't forget to pay your bucks for our barbecue.
Oh, yes.